From the studios of Farm Journal Broadcast, this is AgDay.
Calving in extreme conditions.
The wind is always the real danger.
How ranchers are working to keep their livestock safe and secure as winds continue to whip up fires in the west.
But if we don't have some rain in the forecast, I'm going to be faced with having to sell some cows.
And farmers take stock of what's left of their winter wheat crop.
For our farm, there won't be anything harvested dry land-wise.
And wild weather continuing to add stress right now on AgDay. Good morning, I'm Clinton Griffiths. After battling drought all winter long, the winter wheat crop took another beating this week as 70-mile-per-hour winds slammed the Texas Panhandle. Taking a look at the latest crop progress report for winter wheat, total conditions of the crop is 32% good to excellent. Now that's a 2% improvement from last week, but look at Oklahoma, where just 29% is rated good to excellent and 33% is considered very poor to poor. And in Texas, where just 7% of the crop is counted as good, none of it is considered excellent, and a whopping 79% is considered poor to very poor. Now, farmers have battled multiple wind events already this year, with the majority of dry land winter wheat crops across the Panhandle and Southern Plains already zeroed out by crop adjusters. But the wheat under irrigation was still hanging on until this week. Jesse Wiener's farms in Groom, Texas. He says high winds and 90-degree temperatures this week were already proving to be a lethal combo, and he's no-till. He says it's been over 140 days since he saw rain.
For our farm, there won't be anything harvested dry land-wise. Irrigated, we've still got a few circles that we're watering. That's after today. I guess we'll kind of see what's out there, but I know that we're already starting to get some dirt blowing from some county roads and stuff like that we're starting to blow across it, and already start to see some sand burn on that.
The Texas farmer says it'll take about a week to know how much of the crop survived. And here's more on just how destructive those winds are right now. Joni Blunt taking this photo in La Mesa, Texas. Joni wondering aloud if it is the second Dust Bowl. And Michael Thompson is a farmer and rancher in northwest Kansas and southwest Nebraska, sharing this photo of wind, smoke, and dust. Michael concerned that the dry weather and winds have pretty much taken out all chances for his triticale being considered anything other than ground cover. Further west in New Mexico, a wind-driven wildfire sweeping through neighborhoods in a mountain community in the southern part of the state. Officials say it has burned at least 150 homes and other buildings. The blaze in the village of Ruidoso also forced the evacuation of schools there. No one's been injured, but winds in the area were reportedly gusting between 50 and 90 miles an hour. And wildfires have also been an issue in Kansas, where areas of the state saw winds clock in at over 50 miles per hour this week, sparking more fires. Cooper Adams ranches with his wife Chelsea in southwestern Kansas. They had a fire in their pastures Tuesday, just 5 days after a wildfire struck their area last week. Now, those fires were stirred up by 60 to 70 mile per hour winds. Adams says somehow the majority of their herd was able to take cover in a watering hole along the river, but they did lose some calves along with thousands of acres of critical grass.
We were sort of in that position. We stocked conservatively, so I felt okay, but losing 5,000 acres of grass, why? Yes, I've already bought some hay and trying to find ways that I can supplement these cattle. But if we don't have some rain in the forecast, I'm going to be faced with having to sell some cows.
Now, last week's fire was accidentally started by a truck that was backfiring, and then the winds caused the fire to spread. And more wild weather, this time in Iowa and Texas, where the same weather system we've been telling you about all week produced at least 8 tornadoes. This tornado was caught on camera near Palmer, Iowa. No reports of injuries in this one, but 24 people were hurt in Bell County, Texas. Meteorologist Matt Yurosavik joining us. And Matt, the storm may have moved on, but it's leaving bitter cold in its wake.
Yeah, Clinton, we've got some very chilly air moving in, but I wanted to show you here the root zone first. Still looking at very dry conditions back in the west. It's going to remain that way for at least the next couple of weeks. And notice we've got those drier soil conditions there now coming out into parts of Kansas and Nebraska, even down into eastern Texas as well. More rain, though, through the east. That will be factored in as we head through the next edition of our root zone moisture map next week. And taking a look at our jet stream that just keeps that cold air locked in to the north. You can really see that right here. Stays warm through the south on Friday, even up the east coast, but that cold air locked into the northern Great Lakes and the upper Midwest. Meanwhile, it stays pretty chilly back in the Pacific Northwest as well. More snow showers possible there in the northern Great Lakes. And take a look at these wind chills. This is what will really be cold out there, especially in the Dakotas, places where we've seen some of that snow. Heading through later this afternoon, where those wind chills will likely stay in the single digits for some along the northern tier, and getting even colder. Grand Forks could see a wind chill below zero as we head into tomorrow morning, with temperatures feeling like the 30s all the way down into the Midwest. And just how strong were those winds blowing during that massive storm? Check out this video from Brent Johnson in Laverne, North Dakota. He said they received more than 12 inches of snow with 30-inch drifts, and you can see why. Wow, that sends a shiver down your spine. Tough trying to take care of animals in those conditions. I'll have more on your forecast coming up.
Now, we've been keeping you updated on this. Low water levels due to drought for producers at the California-Oregon border. And it doesn't look like it's going to get much better this year. The U.S. Bureau of Reclamation didn't release any water to irrigators last year. And they say this year, farmers who rely on the federal irrigation project from the Klamath River will get 1/7 of the water they would receive in a wetter year. In good years, the Klamath Basin can produce 50,000 pounds of potatoes or 6,000 pounds of wheat per acre. But Ben Duvall, president of the Klamath Water Users Association, predicting vast acreage will be fallowed this year. And the country of Chile also rationing water to prevent drought in the region of Santiago. The governor of the region saying water cuts will have a maximum duration of 24 hours and be applied on a rotating basis. That would be every 4, 6, or 12 days, depending on the water deficit to be covered. He said, quote, "We cannot make it rain, but we can prepare ourselves so as not to reach an extreme situation," end quote. The country now entering its 13th year of drought. Could we see even more soybean acres than USDA is predicting? We'll discuss that next in Analysis. And in the dry stretches of the northern plains, moisture is needed, but this week it came in the form of a blizzard. We'll catch up with ranchers dealing with the cold conditions and calving season in the country.
AgDay is brought to you by Germinator Closing Wheels. Germinator, it's not just any closing wheel. Reach your yield potential. Free shipping on all orders with coupon code AgDay.
We're joined today by Ted Seifert with Zaner Ag Hedge. Ted, let's talk about this soybean market, because as we try to wrap our arms around kind of the number of acres we're going to have, the input costs associated with that, how is that all stacking up into this market as we really kick off planting across a bigger portion of the country?
Yeah, Clinton, we ended up getting a lot more soybean acres than what the trade guesses were for that planting intentions number. And for a moment there, actually 2 days, we were kind of sent reeling by that. Here's the thing, though. We desperately needed more than 88 million acres in soybeans, because the new crop balance sheet was getting so tight that we were kind of in a position where we almost had to start price rationing now. And the high prices that we're at the moment aren't high enough to ration that price. So we really needed that acreage. And when you take that new acreage number, although it was bearish versus expectations, and you had this great fund liquidation, because they don't know these numbers. They don't look at balance sheets. They don't do the math that, say, you and I do. They just know this was a bearish report because the trade was expecting one thing and we got something different. So they liquidate. But when the cooler heads prevail and plug these numbers in, we see that because of lower beginning stocks and because of the record amount of new crop sales that we have on the books already for next year, I think we're still looking at a 300, more likely a sub 300 million bushel carryover in soybeans, which means we have very, very little room for error for this growing season. And that's considering a 51.5 national average yield. But you look at where that acreage has been added, and Tennessee, for example, up 22 or almost 20% on their soybean plantings. That's probably not going to help that national average yield get to a 51.5 national average. So, if you question that 51.5 really at all, then we're right back to a situation where we could potentially run out of soybeans. We're right back to a situation where we might have to price ration. And by the way, the old crop soybean situation hasn't changed at all. We are still in a position where we could see a really, really tight stocks to usage ratio and have to price ration more of this demand. So it could be a really interesting summer for soybeans. We took a outrageously bullish story, an unsustainably bullish story for new crop beans, and turned it into a just normally bullish story. And now you have a bullish story in corn and in soybeans, and those two powder kegs together are better than just the one.
Well, and you throw wheat on top of it, and of course, all of that starting to make for an interesting time as we go forward into these summer months. Always appreciate it, Ted. Thank you so much for being here. We'll be back with more Ag Day coming up in just a minute.
For professional marketing advice specifically tailored to your needs, call Zaner Ag Hedge at 312-277-0113. Find farm equipment on Machinery Pete's April 19th online auction. No reserve, no buyer fees. Start bidding now at auctions.machinerypete.com.
Meteorologist Matt Yurosavik joining us here. And Matt, we've been watching this jet stream, trying to see how far that cold weather will really push south.
Oh yeah, and it's really been locked up in the north, but coming a little bit farther to the south as we head through the weekend, and we'll see that jet stream dip just a little bit more. And again, most of that cold air locked up into the northern Midwest, and we're going to slowly start to see some of that come down farther to the south as this area moves off towards the east, but it quickly gets a little bit warmer, especially down towards the south, out up into the Rockies. Meanwhile, another system could bring some rain and mountain snow back to the west over the weekend. That keeps things on the cooler side out there, and you can see that for much of next week, not much is going on in the west. Again, we've got a couple more of those systems moving through the Great Lakes and the upper Midwest, but staying very warm back in the southwest, where we could see those temperatures again into the 80s and even closer to the 90s along parts of Southern California and southern parts of Arizona as well. Staying in a pretty zonal flow, keeping it warm in the south, very mild in the north as we head through the middle of next week. So here's a look at that precipitation as we head over the next couple of days. Notice a lot of that with that storm system in the east, and we're going to be even seeing a little bit more back in the west. Rain and some mountain snow there from the Cascades to the northern Rockies and across the northern tier there as well, and then more of that rain and some interior higher elevation snow in the northeast. But the snow, most of that going to be occurring where we've seen a lot over the past couple of days there in North Dakota, but more of that coming out of the Rockies and across the northern plains there as we head through the weekend and into early next week. Look at this, high pressure moving as this front continues eastward. A little bit of a severe weather chance there right along the east coast from New York State all the way down through central Florida through today. And then as we head into the evening, high pressure replaces that. Another system coming out of the Rockies could bring some rain and snow showers to parts of the central plains as we head through Friday. Otherwise, we just remain very chilly back there in the north. And again, temperatures reflecting that, cooler to the north and much warmer down towards the south, places like Texas and Florida. That's a look around the country. Now let's take a look at the weather where you live. Peachtree City, Georgia, scattered showers and thunderstorms, a high of 73 degrees. Grafton, North Dakota, snow likely, windy and blowing snow possible, a high of 28 degrees. And Lakeview, Oregon, snow showers possible, a high of 41.
Got equipment to sell privately but tired of scams and hassles? Visit MachineryPete.com and click Sell Mine. MachineryPete.com, the simple and secure way to buy and sell equipment online. Drover's Report on Ag Day is brought to you by Long Range Apridomectin. If you're committed to peak performance, there's only one choice for your dewormer, Long Range Apridomectin. It's the first and only dewormer to offer up to 150 days of parasite control in one convenient dose.
Are Americans changing the way they shop at the grocery store because of higher prices? Well, apparently not, according to a new survey by Purdue University. The university conducting its monthly Consumer Food Insights. It says total food spending increased 8%, and despite concerns about high inflation, it doesn't appear people are changing their spending habits that much. They asked people if they would buy brand name groceries priced at $100 or generic name groceries priced at $85 or $70. And the results show consumer demand has mostly low sensitivity to price changes.
Interestingly, consumers are paying these higher prices. We're not seeing a lot of evidence of consumers really starting to try to scale back in response to the higher prices. We did a survey of about 1,000 U.S. consumers a month ago and asked, how are you responding to these rates of food price inflation? The most common answer was, I'm just paying more. And so, I'm not trying to buy more on coupons. I'm not trying to shop at different stores. So that suggests to me that a big part of what's happening here is there's just still really strong demand that's in the economy. And at the moment, at least, people are just are sucking it up and paying the higher prices.
Lusk says inflation will impact consumer demand at some point, and the key to seeing inflation ease will be resolving issues in the labor market. Meat exports have continued to impress despite challenges like inflation, a stronger U.S. dollar, and shipping issues. And with a record beef exports posted in 2021, the CEO of the U.S. Meat Export Federation tells us the export market has been surprisingly resilient despite all of these headwinds.
Does it mean at some point it'll probably will slow down demand? My guess would be yes, it probably will. Have we seen it yet? I guess my answer right now is no. It's pretty resilient. We're constantly throwing up caution flags going forward because of all these issues. But right now, demand continues to be pretty resilient. We'll just see how long it lasts. But in general, I would say that I'm pretty optimistic despite all the headwinds, because it's been proven pretty clearly that people continue to eat around the globe, and I don't see that changing for the moment.
Hallstrom says if the shipment of exports weren't an issue throughout the past year, exports would be even higher today, as the demand is still there. Grab your gloves and a warm hat. It's calving season. And this week, ranchers in North Dakota are dealing with more than just cool conditions. That story in the country next. The storm we've been telling you about is the moisture North Dakota's farmers and ranchers have been waiting for. And while it won't eliminate drought conditions completely, it will certainly help. As Jody Kurzman of AgDay affiliate KFYR reports, even those in the middle of calving aren't complaining, but that doesn't mean it's not without its challenges.
Hey, mamas. It's calving season at the Schofield Ranch. This baby was born on Saturday, the first of about 140 on the way. Calving wasn't supposed to start here for another week.
The 18th is the start date. It's Mother Nature, so plus or minus.
Now, Mother Nature has delivered another surprise. Schofield and his father-in-law have spent the past several days preparing for this April blizzard.
We've got the cows moved into a protected pasture, so they have as much coverage as we can get them. And then we've been kind of double time feeding them, giving them a better bedding area, along with excess food to kind of build up for it.
It is welcome moisture.
We've been praying for snow and rain and everything for 2 years now, so we don't get to dictate when that comes, I guess.
We need moisture dramatically.
Pete Best is at the halfway mark of his calving season.
Around 250 calves.
It's been a pretty easy calving season until now.
This will not be easy. I mean, this will be getting up and checking probably every couple hours, or they're not gonna make it.
Best captured the first snow of the storm on this cell phone video. He says it isn't the snow he's worried about, but rather the wind.
The wind is always the real danger in a blizzard. The snow itself can be a challenge, but the wind is the real big risk.
Despite that risk, he is doing his best to stay positive.
I'm optimistic that this is the start of something new for us.
All right, thanks, Jody. Now, Beth says 2 feet of snow will put them in a much better spot than they were in last spring. Schofield adds that anything that will fill the stock dams and get grass growing is a blessing. And that's all the time we have this morning. Thanks for watching. From all of us here at AgDay, I'm Clinton Griffiths. Have a great day out in the farm country.